Hello and good evening. Let me know if you are just joining. Okay, so I'm just trying to get my table, make sure everything is intact. So please, guys, let me know if you can hear me. Okay, let me know if you can hear me so we can start immediately. I came a little bit, 10 minutes late. So, guys, I'm so sorry. So, good evening, guys. Hello, thank you so much, Ruth. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good evening. I appreciate you joining the live stream for tonight. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ruth. Thanks for coming. So, guys, so let's just go straight into our drafting for tonight. So, guys, so I'm going to show you guys what we are going to be doing today. Okay. Yeah. So this is it. It's like a tube. This is what we're going to be doing. Thank you so much, Tommy. Ella Stitches, good evening. Kim, you're welcome. Precious, thank you so much. Eki, thank you so much, guys, for joining. You guys should please like the video. Okay, so this is what we're going to learn how to draft today. So for those of you that have been following me, our live stream, we do strictly pattern drafting. So that is what we do here for our live stream. I just try and make pattern drafting easy for you guys, as in for those of you that don't know how to draft patterns. So you just watch and then you learn. So from here you improve your skills. So, guys, so in today's tutorial, this is what we're going to learn how to do. So let's just dive straight into our tutorial for today. If you are just joining, you're welcome. Please let me know where you're watching from, and then if there's any preferred tutorial that you want us to do, that is like on YouTube, that's for our long form videos, you can drop it. Charity, you're welcome. Jennifer, good evening. So, guys, so let's get started. Okay, so thank you all of you that tuned in. I appreciate you guys for your love and for your support. So this is our table, and then because of the style that I want to draft, I'm going to be using a double pattern paper. What I mean by double pattern paper is folded into two. Okay, okay, Degbe, good evening. All right, so that's what I'll do so that we'll be able to get out the style line really properly. Okay, so, guys, so let's start. So all of the details, we're going to be putting everything in here. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to be doing a start up line. Okay, so if you notice, this is a tube. You understand? Okay, thank you so much. You're watching from Enugu. Wow. So it is a tube. So for this tube, if you notice, you can see that it is very high. Okay, so we're going to be using, like, we're going to be dropping like 5 inches from it. So in dropping that, here's what we are going to do. So for this, in case we want to cut it, let it have yoke, we can do that. I don't know if we should do it, let it have yoke, or let's just go straight to just the tube part alone. I think we should just go to the tube part alone. Okay, so like I said, we're going to make a start line for this. You can see this is a start line. So you just mark that start line like this. So this pattern also, you can use it for your off shoulders. Okay, and then we're going to be dropping with, okay, Jennifer, you're watching from Ekpoma. Wow, that's nice. So we are going to be dropping with 5 inches. Can you see the way I use my tip? So let's see. You see it? Can you see? I place my tape at 5 inches. Okay, Ihumudumu. Wow, that's nice. I know that place. I've been there. In there. So this is 5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to drop by 5 inches. Since we're dropping by 5 inches, we're doing this like an off shoulder pattern. Okay, or a tube. So let's do this. So this point you are going to mark after using 5 inches like this. So this will be your shoulder line. If you want it deep, you can come down by 6 inches also. So the next point we're going to take now, we're going to take our bust point. So for the bust point, let's use 11 inches. So you mark your 11 inches here, and then your under bust is going to be 14 inches. So the difference between your bust point and your under bust is always 3 inches. So just note that, so you can see 1, 2, 3. You understand? So that's like a standard, but it differs for people that are very busty. Precious, thank you. You're watching from Ikorodu. Wow, that's nice. It's usually 3 inches. So in case maybe they gave you a measurement and the customer is not around, if you use 3 inches for somebody that is, except for those people that their boss are like 48, so that one can be different because those ones, the tummy, the difference used to be like 5 or 4. But normally, for normal bust size people, 3 inches is the difference. So after that, the next point we're going to take now is the top area, which is the stomach area. So for that, we're going to use 17.5 for that, and then we're going to take the full length. So after that, the next point we're going to take now is the full length of the. Okay, so because this, if you notice, and this blouse, it has something like a deep basque. Can you see? It has like a deep basque. So I'm going to leave my pattern. I'm going to leave my pattern at like 27. Okay, so I'll just mark the 27 here because I need that depth point. So the next thing now, all of these lines that I mentioned that we marked, I'm just going to connect them like this. Okay, so I'm just like highlighting them all out for you guys to see, and then we'll label them. So when I finish, I'm going to label them so I will not forget. So this is our shoulder line, this is our bust point, this is our under bust, and then this is our waist, and then this is the full length. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now, we are going to start drafting immediately. So you can see it is a tube, like I said, it is a tube. So we are going to just start drafting immediately. The next thing we're going to do from this part, when you are doing this kind of dress, make sure that that chest area, that top part, you measure your client. Okay, so make sure you measure them. So when you measure them, it actually makes it really easy. Okay, so for this, the my own, as in when I measure, so let me use myself here now, like this. You make sure you measure them, and then when you measure it really tight. It helps a whole lot. You can see it will help. Okay, so when you measure it like this, the way you are going to do it, that is not going, you are going to divide that measurement into 4. You understand? You're going to divide it into, but if you are not using this measurement, you're going to use your normal shoulder measurement, divide by 2. Okay, so you can see what I have here. I have about 8 inches. So I'm just going to place that 8 inches here like this, and then I don't want to add much so that it's not falling. I'll just add like half of an inch to it for allowance. And then the next thing, you know that it is a tube. So what we want to do now, we want to like mark a form of armhole, even though it's not necessarily armhole, but you just need like a form of armhole. So you still place your tape like this, and then you use your armhole depth. So for this, I'm going to use about 7 inches. So it's not supposed to be too deep. So I'll use like 7 inches. So from that point that I mark that 7 inches, I'm just going to mark this down like this, and then mark this straight. So for this, we're still going to work on that. Okay, yes, we're going to work on that. So at the end of the day, that part is going to serve as my chest line. That's this line like this. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now, we want to take out our bust, and because it is a bustier. Okay, so that bust pan now, I want to come to the down, so I'll move my pattern paper like this to make it easier for us. We want to take out a bust pan. So that bust pan that we're going to take out, we're going to use 9 inches. So you divide 9 inches, that's your nipple to nipple. You divide 9 inches into 2, you're going to have 4.5. So that 4.5, I'll mark that 4.5 across all of these lines that I added here like this. Okay, so I'm just going to mark it, except that top one, and then I'll connect this with a straight ruler like this. So I'll just connect it like this. Okay, so after connecting it, the next thing we want to do now, we want to take out our dart. So I'm just checking it properly. We want to take out our dart. If you notice, the dart ran straight on the bust, so it is a bust dart. So you can see it's a bust. You can use a bust dart for this, you can use a shoulder dart for this, but I think it is a bust dart because you can see it's running straight up, so it is a bust dart. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do here, from this point, we want to take out we want to create our bust here. So in creating that, I want to use 3 inches for my dart. So that 3 inches, I'm going to divide it into two. I'll use 1.5 on my right hand side and then use 1.5 on this right hand side. So when I mark that 1.5 to this side, I'm just going to connect this like this. I'll connect it to this bust point like this. Can you see? So I'll connect it like this. So when I connect it like this, the next thing I want to do now, this line, I'm going to extend this line up, okay? So I'll just extend it like that. I'll extend it like that. I'll extend it. So when I extend that line up, the next thing I want to do from this top part, I want to take this and then bring this down and then take out from that chest, that top part. I'm not going to use this shoulder line, you understand? So we're going to work with a chest line. So that for us to get that chest line, you are going to take your tape like this and then you are going to place it. So you are going to determine how deep you want this to be. So this is where you determine how deep. You understand when I say how deep? You see this point here like this where that's the tube is. So this is where you determine it. So for this one on the picture, what was used is like 8.5 inches. Okay, so for this, I'm going to use the 8.5 inches. You can see the way I place my tape. Let me show you guys. You see the way I place my tape, and then I'm going to mark that 8.5 like this. So when I mark that 8.5, I'm going to connect it with a straight ruler like this. So when I connect this now with a straight ruler, this part now is going to be that chest part, okay? So now the next thing I'm going to do now, I want to tighten that part because it needs to be tightened. So to tighten it, I'm going to use 2 inches for that. So that part, I'm going to take 1 inch to my right and then take 1 inch to my left, okay? And then when I do that, when I take that 1 inch to my left, to my right. So for those of you that are just joining us, you're welcome. Please let me know where you're watching from. So I'll connect this now. You can see this one now. This right hand side, I'll connect it to the right hand side like this. So you can see. Just connect it like can you see? It has given you a beautiful curve. Thank you so much. Those of you that are giving me hearts, thank you so much. I appreciate. And then this second one now like this one like this now, I'm going to place this like this and then I'm going to mark, I'm going to create a curve also. Thank you so much, those of you that are liking. Can you see the curve? I've created the curve already. So the next thing we are going to do now, we are going to mark this down, okay? So in marking this down, I am just going to take this like this. So for me to mark it down, I need to check how the down part of the dart is. Okay, the dart is still run straight down. Okay, so I'm just going to take this and then I'll run this straight down and then run this also straight down. So after running this straight down, the next thing I want to do now for this line, because I'm going to be stitching, I might just want to extend it just a little bit. That's when I'm cutting, just like half of an inch. So I can just extend half of an inch so that when I'm cutting, it will, so it stays nicely, okay? So it's not too deep. So that is why I did that. And then the next thing, after, at this point, this whole part, we're cutting off those parts, okay? So the next thing we want to do now, we want to take out our full body measurement. And the measurement we're using bust 36. Our under bust is going to be 30, and then the waist is going to be 34. Okay, and then the hip line we use 38. Okay, so let's just work with this small size. So 36. So when you divide 36, you're watching from Ghana. Diane, thank you so much and you're welcome. Precious Udoka, okay, you're watching from Ikorodu. Abiodun Sanusi, thank you so much. You're watching for Mabulegba. Thank you so much, all of you that are joining, that are dropping your comments. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's continue. Please, oh, you put in any part maybe you don't understand, you can just thank you. Those people that are giving me hearts, thank you. You can just write it on the comment section. I will look up and then answer your questions. Okay. Yes. So now let's add our full measurements now. So this line, this chest line part, that's where we're going to add our bust measurement. All those sides, we don't need it. We're going to cut all of them off. Like I said, it is a tube, okay? So what you are going to do now, you divide 36 into 4. We're going to have 9. This is 9. You mark the 9 inches here. How people are seeing it? Oh. You mark the 9 inches here. Remember, we took out 2 inches for our tightening. So that 2 inches, you bring that back and then just add stitching, a small stitching allowance. You can add like 1.5 inch. That's okay. Just mark it this way. And then the next thing, so this line now that we mark now, what we have on that chest line, I'm going to just extend it to my bust point line, okay? Because all of them, this whole area like this is the breast side. So the measurements, they are most times they are always usually the same, except for people that are very busty. The measurement might differ a little bit. Okay, boom C. Wow, you're watching from Delta. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Yeah, welcome. So now we're going to do the under bust line. So the under bust is 30. So when we divide 30 into 4, we're going to have 7.5. This is 7.5. Remember, we took out 3 inches from here now, this part now. So that 3 inches, we're going to bring that back. We're going to do a tightening around here. We'll come back to that. And then I'm going to add my stitching allowance. Okay, I said I used 1.5 inches. So these lines, now I'm going to just connect the lines like this. Okay, so once I connect the lines like this, we're going to come to the waist, which is 34. You divide 34 into 4, you have 7. 30 is 34 into 4, that's okay. Let me respect myself now. My head cannot calculate. So I have 8.5. So that 8.5, I'm just going to place the 8.5 here and then mark my darts, which is 3 inches. I'll bring that back into my pattern and then add my stitching allowance. And then I'll come to my hip line. So for the hip, I'm using 38 inches, okay? So I'll just mark it here and then still bring in my 3 inches. I'll place that back into my pattern and then I am going to add. So for this down part, I'm going to add more stitching, more allowance. Can you see? You see the way this down part is? It opened up a little bit. So I'm not going to add, I'm going to extend it a little bit with like 3.5 inches. You know, I've been using, for the other allowance, I've been using 1.5. So I'll just use 3.5 inches. Since it is a pattern drafting, it's better for me to trim it out than for it to be too small, okay? So I'll connect this line to here like this, and then I will use this now like this to connect this line like this together. So I'll just bring this now, okay? So now we're going to still work on this down part and then this middle part also. So the next thing we want to do now, we want to cut this out. Before we cut out, we're going to finish all of our everything here before we cut out. So the next thing we're going to do now, let's work on the style line for the down first. So you can see the shape of down part of this blouse. Mabel, thank you so much. Good evening. You're welcome. Can you see the shape of the down part? You can see the way it is looking. So when you are working with things like this, you can decide to, I'm trying to get my pencil. You can decide to, it's always good for you to make use of a pencil, you understand, when working with this. So the next thing, what you are going to ask yourself now is, how deep do I want this? If you notice, you can see that it is really deep. You understand? You see where it got to. So like I said, I used about 20,